Cultural heritage and modernization often appear at odds. One anchors identity in the past, the other pushes toward efficiency, innovation, and global interconnectedness. Yet the tension need not be a zero-sum game. When handled thoughtfully, heritage and modernization can reinforce one another, creating cities and societies that are both rooted and resilient. Cultural heritage encompasses tangible elements, historic buildings, monuments, archaeological sites, and intangible ones, languages, rituals, crafts, and social practices. Modernization brings technological advances, new infrastructure, economic development, and shifting lifestyles. Conflict arises when redevelopment erases material traces of the past, when economic priorities marginalize traditional ways of life, or when globalized culture displaces local expression. Examples abound. Historic neighborhoods bulldozed for high-rises, indigenous languages vanishing as education and media favor dominant tongues, and craft traditions abandoned because they cannot compete with mass-produced goods. But modernization also offers tools to preserve and revitalize heritage. Digital technologies enable high-resolution documentation of artifacts and endangered languages. Climate-resilient materials and engineering can protect historic structures, and modern marketing and e-commerce can create new markets for traditional crafts. The goal, therefore, should be integration, rather than preservation for its own sake, or reckless transformation for growth's sake. Practical strategies to reconcile these priorities begin with inclusive planning. Communities that live with heritage are best placed to define its value. Participatory processes ensure that modernization projects respect local meanings and social uses. Cultural impact assessments, performed alongside environmental and economic reviews, can identify risks and opportunities early in development planning. Adaptive reuse offers a powerful model, converting old buildings for new purposes. Schools, co-working spaces, cultural centers, housing, preserves architectural character while meeting contemporary needs. Zoning and incentives, such as tax credits, grants, or heritage trusts, encourage private investors to maintain historic fabric rather than demolish it. In rapidly changing urban areas, establishing conservation zones and height limits around key landmarks helps maintain scale and character. Education and transmission are equally vital, supporting apprenticeships for traditional crafts, integrating local history into school curricula, and funding community cultural programs keep intangible heritage alive. At the same time, leveraging technology, digital archives, virtual museums, language apps, extends access and attracts younger generations without fossilizing practices into museum pieces. Sustainable tourism, if carefully managed, can fund conservation and provide livelihoods for custodians of heritage, but it requires limits. Visitor caps, revenue sharing with local communities, reinvestment into maintenance, and interpretation that respects authenticity instead of staging stereotypes. Finally, legal frameworks and international cooperation matter. Ratified conventions, national heritage registers, and clear property rights create predictable environments for conserving heritage. Cross-border knowledge exchange helps governments and communities learn best practices for balancing modernization pressures with conservation needs. Balancing cultural heritage and modernization is not about halting change or reverting to an idealized past. It's about recognizing that heritage contributes to social cohesion, identity, and long-term economic value, and that modernization can provide the means to protect and enliven that heritage. With inclusive governance, thoughtful policy instruments, technological support, and public commitment, societies can modernize without losing the stories, skills, and places that give them meaning.